I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Community Preservation Act Committee. It's December 13th, 2023. It is 5:03 p.m. This meeting will be recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. And we have 3 grant presentations this evening. The first one is the Lower Cape Housing Institute. And so I'm going to ask Amanda. I'm going to leave it up to you. Paul is not here. So if you'd like to sit up here, you can be Paul.
I'm not Paul, but I'll play Paul on TV.
So this is Amanda Bebrin.
Bebrin.
And she is here to discuss the Lower Cape Housing Institute. And I'll let you go from there.
Thank you so much, Mary. Yes, my name is Amanda Bebrin. I'm the Director of Housing Advocacy at the Community Development Partnership, formerly of Eastham.
I'm just going to ask you to put that a little closer.
A little closer. Is this better?
Yeah, and
more slowly. Okay. Well, you just fed me that cookie, so now I've got like a sugar buzz going. So you've set me up to fail. Right. I'm Amanda Bebrin. I'm the Director of Housing Advocacy at the Community Development Partnership. We are the region's community development corporation. So we support the region through small business technical assistance for economic development. And then we also do advocacy for affordable housing, both through property management and through our involvement with our 8 lower and outer Cape municipalities. And specifically this evening, I'm here for a funding request for $10,000 for the Lower Cape Housing Institute, which is a program designed to help support our municipal officials and staff with education, technical assistance, resources, data, storytelling, whatever it is that you need to be able to make the case for your communities about what affordable housing is, what the benefits are to the community, who it serves, and how it contributes to vibrant, thriving communities, both for Eastham and for us as a region. The sort of history behind it was that prior to my tenure, the organization saw sort of a disconnect between what towns were being asked to consider in terms of affordable housing developments and capacity to sort of understand what the mechanisms were, what the ramifications were. Housing is a really big, complicated thing, and without the necessary skill development to be able to navigate those decisions, both from a municipal standpoint and through generating consensus on the part of residents and having informed voters showing up at town meeting, showing up at planning board meetings, zoning meetings, select board meetings to be able to participate, that there was sort of this disconnect between needing housing and being able to get that housing built. So the Lower Cape Housing Institute is the program that was developed in response to that. And in the 7 years since the program's inception, we've seen the conversation really shift. And now each town on the Lower and Outer Cape has an affordable housing development in its pipeline, which has been very, very exciting to see. So I'm here before you to talk about whatever you'd like to talk about, but it's very well aligned both with your Community Preservation Act goals and your goals as a town, as is laid out in the application. I was here last Saturday for the stakeholder charrette. So we pay attention to what Eastham has going on in terms of changing the zoning, wastewater, thinking about Route 6 and Main Street, as well as affordable housing and how all of those pieces play together, and strive to help you as board and committee members, staff, decision makers, town meeting voters understand what your part is in making decisions and helping you have really good information to make the best decisions possible for the town of Eastham. I think a big piece in the impact to Eastham is obviously the town is doing amazing things in working towards your affordable housing goals. Rethinking the zoning in the North Eastham corridor to support some mixed use and some greater density, the wastewater to be able to support all of those efforts. the understanding who really needs these sorts of units, I think surprises a lot of people. When you look at the actual numbers of who or what earners are considered low to moderate income households, it's a lot of the people that we rely on as communities. And that includes, our school teachers and bus drivers, our nurses, our paramedics, our first responders, the people who are really the glue of our community are having a really hard time being able to stay here, because it's very hard to compete, as you know, with off Cape, buyers, who come down to buy second homes. And, tourism is part of our economy, but, keeping a local identity and keeping local people here is really important as well. I am happy to answer questions about anything. What haven't I talked about yet? Oh, the structure of the program, that would be helpful. So the program itself is 5 workshops that cover a variety of topics. We start with Housing 101 in September, October, and then we move through a series of, intermediate to advanced topics. So we covered community engagement and why it's so important to have robust community engagement, how to engage with demographics that don't always participate, and why it's really important to have their voices as we're making long-term decisions as communities. Next month, we are going to talk about some different strategies for housing production, whether that's ADUs, whether that's zoning changes. We are also going to talk about in the new year local preference, which is a whole can of worms all by itself. And we're also going to talk about financing, both affordable and attainable housing, what we think of as being like not quite low to moderate income, but 80 to 200% of area median income. So we have the workshop component. All of those are provided free of charge. We hold them virtually because 8 towns is a lot of ground to cover. And regardless of where we pick, somebody's always driving. You in Eastham are very lucky because you're centrally located. So if we did hold them in person, it would probably be here. But we hold them virtually for ease of access, and we also record them. They're on our YouTube, so they're available for people to watch after the fact. We also send out all of the resources. So whether that's slide decks, if there's websites or different resources that are discussed within the presentations, we make those available to all of the participants. Especially for new board and committee members who are obviously interested in serving in a town capacity, but maybe haven't dealt with housing before, or haven't yet come to an understanding of how housing touches so many different things. These are really great workshops and resources to take advantage of. Besides the workshops, we also have peer group. We just had our winter peer group yesterday, and we did it regional. So we alternate between doing sub-regional, one for the Lower Cape and one for the Outer Cape. And then this time we did the entire region, so all 8 towns. And we had a presentation from one of our state level partners, the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, CHAPA. Their director of public policy came and spoke to us about the governor's housing bond bill, which is in process and obviously has a lot of implications for us as a region in terms of, funding streams to develop new units of affordable housing, to preserve some existing ones. And there's also a lot of policy changes that are proposed in there as well. And sort of staying on top of emerging trends and things that are changing is also part of what we do as the Lower Cape Housing Institute. So peer group is seasonal. We do a fall, a winter, a spring, and a summer. Summer's the most fun because we're after town meeting season and hopefully is very celebratory. And that's a less formal space. We don't record those, but I always take notes. And it's a space for housing advocates to, share successes, share best practices and ideas, sometimes to vent frustrations, because housing is a challenging thing to work on every single day. And I think at the heart of it, to sort of help break down some of the silos town by town, we really like everybody's in their own little container and doesn't always know what everyone else is doing. And so it's an opportunity to see what your neighbors are working on, and if they've got good ideas, to steal them and make them work for your own town. All right, I think that is everything I wanted to talk about, and I am happy to take questions for anything that I've forgotten.
Carolyn?
I was part of the peer group yesterday. They're very valuable sessions because we learn a lot from the other towns of what's going on, what they did, why they did it. Details that will be helpful for us in trying to figure things out. So I think what they're doing in terms of trying to create a somewhat cohesive housing strategy across the Lower and Outer Cape is just really helpful to all of us. Was it rising tide
Lifts all
all boats? I have to stop thinking about it, say it right, but they're really quite beneficial.
Any other comments, questions? Dave?
The 10,000 is for 1 year? No. It
I-
was 5,000.
$7,500.
7,500.
For
I
2
think,
years at one point, and
I think your grant cycle is a 2-year cycle. I'd have,
No, it's not.
No,
It's
that's
1
one.
year.
it's a 1 year?
1
Okay.
year.
Then it's $10,000 for
1
for
year.
the 1
Okay.
year, yes. And this, it supports staff. As an organization, we try very hard to also pay our people enough to be able to stay in the region, and everything just got more expensive.
Yeah, we hadn't had an increase, I don't think.
Well, this is an increase because
This is
last
an
year,
increase.
the last 5 years were 7,005
Right.
and the first year was 15,000. I think that was sort of for 2
2
years.
So this is the first actual increase.
This is the first increase in about 5 years.
And I think also sort of a technical but the 7,500 allotted last year hasn't been drawn yet. And I know last year we had the same issue. So is there still a lag, or how does that work? The FY 24 funds of 7,500 are still.
Yeah, because we're not through FY 24
Okay.
yet, so I believe this is a request for FY 25,
Right.
so it would be
Right.
for,
I got it.
yes,
Yeah.
the,
Okay.
and the keeping track of all of the calendar year versus the fiscal year.
Okay.
Yes, we won't spend new money until what has already been allocated has been drawn down, yes.
And as Joanna mentioned, last year we did have an issue because we had 15,000 that was for 2 years and it hadn't been requested from the CDP. So
Okay.
we really had some questions as to,
Sure.
you're asking for more money and you haven't even asked for the 15, well, it was two years of 7,005 each.
Yeah.
And-
Our accounting department has been hard at work at
Yeah.
getting all of our books in order and streamlining all of our processes so that, yes, we are taking advantage of all of the funds that have been generously awarded to us.
So I don't think they're in arrears in asking now. The money that's outstanding is for the current year. which-
The 7,005 on our books is for the current fiscal year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So-
And I just have a question on of that. Because I'm looking at your submission and item number 7, where you have everything listed for figures, budget figures. But that includes the partnership, the Housing Institute. You never give us the exact cost of what you're charging for the institute itself.
So the housing partnership is a whole umbrella program, so it includes that figure up above the 429, 745, includes budget items for things that are beyond the Housing Institute.
Yeah.
For just the Housing Institute, this is indeed, those are all the costs.
Are you saying that the amount, that's not what it says in here. It says the costs below include the Lower Cape Housing Institute, and the total of the figures that you have here are for 108,000.
Yes, that's the Housing Institute budget alone. Again, this is an internal that the housing partnership is a number of programs altogether, that it's a whole umbrella. And then the Housing Institute is just one piece underneath that, and that 108,000 is the Housing Institute budget.
That's
No,
not what this.
That's just
That's
not
not
what
what
it
this says?
says. No,
It says that what you see listed here on that page, the details
Mhm.
are for the Community Housing Partnership.
right. Including,
Which includes the
Okay.
Housing Institute, but there's no budget for the Housing Institute.
Okay, I can speak with our grants department and our accounting to
I
get
think-
you,
I think
we
we
do
would
have
just like to
figures
see
on that,
that.
sure,
we'd
sure,
like
sure.
to see the budget just for the Housing Institute, which
Sure.
is what you're asking us for money for.
Sure.
And I have another question. One of the things that you're trying to work towards is the use of the short-term rental tax for housing. And our town has decided that the short-term rental tax will be used for wastewater.
Mhm.
So I just want you to be aware that that this town has decided to use those monies for something other than what your goal is essentially for
Ab-
housing.
Absolutely. And wastewater is certainly housing supportive and housing adjacent. So wastewater gets us towards housing
Oh,
because
I
it's
agree.
building capacity. These are, we provide recommendations and all of the resources. Ultimately, the decisions are going to be what's best for you as a town. And I think you have a great case for why putting that money towards wastewater makes
Mhm.
sense.
And you mentioned the new bond bill that was just passed by the governor. What's the time, do you know what the timing is for getting some of those monies and the requirements that you need to meet in order to receive some of it?
Sure. So what the presentation we talked about yesterday was that effectively the bill isn't even at the starting line yet. The way that the state legislature works is a whole other thing that I'm still wrapping my head around. But basically, we're looking at about 6 months worth of different committees taking a look at it because there's policy in it, there's assets in it, there's income streams in it, and then they're hoping to have some final reconciled version of it by the end of July. But that basically what's in it now is a proposal. It isn't hardened. It's not set in stone yet. It's not law yet. It's a proposal, but it still has to work through the entire process. And it sounds like it is going to be quite the process. And that, we as interested and impacted parties should be paying attention. And if there are opportunities for us to give input or participate, we'll certainly let you know.
So we don't really know as a town what we would need to do to receive some of those monies yet.
We're still, it's still
Not even
quite a
close.
ways away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't be adopted as law until late summer. And then they would administratively have to figure out how to implement it.
Mhm.
So we wouldn't know anything for a while after that.
For a while.
Yeah. But what Amanda said is just a plug is that this summer, there will be a lot of activity on it. And if we individually or collectively, if we're in support of it,
Mhm.
we need to let our legislators know.
Is that
Because-
something that the select board should send a letter to the,
At some point
the state.
perhaps. Right.
Or conversely, if there are things in it that don't work for Eastham, this is also the opportunity to say, hey, this particular provision would actually really complicate the work that we have already going on or the things that we've already done.
Mhm.
We'd like you to consider changing it.
There are some things that Eastham has already submitted home rule petitions on and that we're waiting on legislative approval. And some of those might get rolled into this or covered by under the umbrella of the proposed bill. There perhaps are other things that our town might want to ask for again or separately.
Mhm.
But what the gentleman from Chapa said yesterday is that those individual towns that have asked for certain provisions that are covered by the bond bill, we should reiterate with our legislators that
Mhm.
those are still something that we
Still in
desire.
the process.
And that we desire them, strongly desire them.
Mhm.
Right.
Just checking to see if Janet or Eileen have any questions. I don't see any.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Are people interested and in agreement to vote for this request, or would you prefer to wait? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move that we recommend approval of the application from the Community Development Partnership for the Community Housing Institute in the amount of up to $10,000 for the next fiscal year.
Second.
Second, 3
That-
seconds.
That's Carolyn and Ed. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Eileen?
Yes.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8-0.
Yes, anything that can help us catch up with Orleans, who apparently is doing quite well.
And the wastewater is a
Amazing.
big piece of
And, yeah.
that. The wastewater and the zoning changes, they're really seeing about 10 years worth of work on both of those pieces come to fruition.
Yeah.
And out of their visioning sessions for their Orleans comprehensive plan, I think they're eyeing 300 units as being the target for the next
We'll get
10
there.
years. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
In our lifetime.
we
You
just
know what? It's
move
good.
we'll
It's
move the
it's
border.
good to have other people,
Orleans
moving
used to
the
be Eastham.
goalposts.
We
Yeah.
could just,
That's right. Everybody works through their own process and we're here to support you however we can.
I don't know if you caught what she's saying. It used to be that Orleans was part of legally, I mean, was.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
Orleans
was,
is part of
Like
Eastham.
Brewster and Harwich were,
yeah.
Yeah.
Not the other way
shouldn't have let them
around.
go.
Yeah,
Well,
well, thank you, Amanda.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you
And
for your
I
time.
would
I will
ask
chase down the
that-
budget.
that you,
Absolutely. Yes.
Provide us with the information I requested.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. And I think that you are next. We're skipping
Oh,
You
we're
for the
going on
moment.
Next,
to the Eastham Elementary School because Linda has some
sure,
other
yeah, no.
things that she'd like to do.
Hi, my name is Linda Burt. I've been working for the East Ham Elementary School for 36 years. I was head custodian and retired 3 years ago, and I'm still working there 3 days a week. So I put this application in because I thought that it would be a good idea if we started to do some work on our playground. We have been keeping it up, but you need to occasionally add some components that are up to date for kids these days. They do different things than kids did in other years. So you have the budget.
Yeah. I did-
Before
I
you,
passed out the
Does
budget.
anybody have any questions on the application first? Before I go into the budget?
Can you just give us an overview of what exactly you would be doing?
Okay, well. I just had playground inspection done. And I also had O'Brien and Sons come to do a survey of our playground and a plan for the future. And he just got this back to me the other day, so I had to hurry today to get this done so I could get it before you. So the playground inspector said the playground is in good shape. We do need to put some more fiber on the
Ground?
below the playground, and we have two playgrounds, actually. We have the swings area, we have the preschool playground, and we have the large playground, which we call it the big structure. We have to add some fiber to it, which is wood chips, but they're made just for playgrounds.
But
there-
I have a question on
Yeah.
that, Linda. Is that ADA compliant?
Yes,
I-
it is. Yes.
Can I just?
Yeah.
It is technically ADA compliant now, but the East Ham Recreation Department and the Planning Department and everything, our view is that we wanted to upgrade the port in place rubber. We don't want to use wood chips anyplace.
Right, right.
So, and I had said that to you, and I noticed
Yeah.
that in your other
Yeah,
phases.
So, right,
you
in the other
put
phases, I
wood
put
chips
that in.
or
Yes,
port
right.
Place rubber.
Plus, it's very expensive.
During,
Yes.
because this is your
Mhm.
initial phase and you need to get it going.
Yeah,
And you need this upgrade now because you don't have enough. I
right.
would say, fine, go ahead with
Mhm.
wood chips this year,
Mhm.
but any future project that you come forward.
Yes,
with-
and I
Please-
put that in.
Yeah,
for
and
the-
we talked
Yeah.
about,
mhm.
no, please make it more
Right.
place rubber.
And it is expensive,
Well, but
like the
like I
Gaga,
told you
like the
before,
Gaga
don't
pit.
worry about the
Mhm.
expense.
Yeah.
We have to
Well,
worry about the
you know,
expense. I mean, part of the strategic plan of the town
yeah,
is to upgrade the
Mhm.
ADA, accessibility places and it, port in place rubber is the best
mhm.
surface you get.
So our playground is in very good shape, but we do need to make some improvements. When O'Brien and Sons was there, he went through the entire playground and he took pictures and I walked around with him and showed me what they needed to do to make our playground good for now.
So,
Well, this is good. Our big playground will probably last us at least another 5 years. At least before we have to replace it. Was put in 2012. And they last 20 years or so. And we've been maintaining it very well. Our preschool playground is from 2007,
I think you got some money from us for that.
probably.
You did.
Mhm. And the preschool playground, I had them put together a price for us to replace it and add some components to it. But that won't be done in this phase. This phase is to just maintain what we have right now. And as you can see, put some benches, replace benches that are made of wood and need to be replaced. Put the surfacing in the Gaga pit because it's so muddy in the Gaga pit.
What does that stand for?
Gaga, it's,
It's a game.
that's the name of it.
Display in a pit. and,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Actually, it's
Um,
supposed to.
It's a pit where the kids love it.
Yeah.
They take a ball and they hit it and they jump over it and they hit it and it can't hit them or they're out. So like
That's pretty
we've
neat.
had this, we've had this pit there for like 2 years and there's never a day that it
It's not
doesn't
being
get
used.
used. Yes, by everybody. Gotta check that out. But they bring mud in the building because if it rains, they're still in there. They don't care. So we need some surfacing
Hmm.
underneath it. I thought of getting the tiles that you put together I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're about 4 by 4 and put them all in there, but it's not gonna last because they'll start picking at it and pulling them up and it's gotta be a surface that's gonna last. And so where the Gaga pit is right now, there's no grass at all. It just wears it right down because they're in it constantly. So that's one of the things that we wanted to get done this year. There's some parts of the big playground. It's a transfer, the transfer module is a stair that goes down to the ground. And the rubber coating on the outside of it is getting worn out. This is what a transfer module is. That's what they call it. It's just basically a stair. So the coating is coming off of it. And so it's bare metal. So we really can't have that. So that's part of one of the replacements. This is just a screw that needs to be replaced here. I mean, they went over this playground very carefully when they were there and he found a couple things, but it's in great shape. Considering it's been there since 2012.
And that's the group that does it, at the annual review.
That was,
Um,
this is O'Brien and Sons.
O'Brien and
O'Brien
Sons, yes.
Sons, a pretty reputable
yes,
company. And matter of fact, they're putting in the shade shelter.
yeah.
by the park.
They said they would do the consulting and planning free of charge because they know that we will
Well,
use
the other
them.
thing is they want one to replace. a
Yeah,
piece of
but they
equipment.
know we're gonna use
Yeah,
them
yeah,
because
yeah.
we have their equipment, so.
There's a method to their madness.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that what you're saying?
And then there's this little, this handle, it's a track ride.
Mhm.
And the wheels are all worn off of it, because the kids love it.
They do love.
Yeah, again, all this equipment is modular equipment. So, like that piece of equipment, Linda, as you showed it, you
Mhm.
could pull that out and put another piece of
Mm.
equipment in its place. When you say you have to go and buy it.
Right.
I mean, the rec department, we wholeheartedly support this application. I toured the playground with Linda. I have a copy of her playground inspection,
Mhm.
as a matter of fact, in front of me. The thing that confuses me, Linda, is that does the Nauset school system give you any money to do any of this? Or is this?
We're all separate. No, elementary schools are separate.
So,
the
so,
Nauset
so you're
school system.
technically
Elementary
we
schools are
consider-
town,
a department of the town. Would.
right? We are a department of the town, right?
So I guess the thing. In the long run,
You also
that
get,
bothers me
we
a
get
little.
capital funds from the
Well,
town.
if you're gonna go out for a consultant or you can do an RFP, then you have to do it through town hall. Am I?
Well,
wrong
we
with
don't
that?
have to go out for an RFP because we already have our consultant that's doing this for us for
I
free.
understand, but you still have to follow the policies of the town.
You have to
Right.
follow the
Oh, yeah.
procurement. If we gave you the grant,
Mhm.
you would have to follow the
Right, if you went out
procurement
to buy
policies. of the
Right.
town.
Oh, yes. We would have to get 3 quotes or
Okay,
3
okay.
bids.
So that's, I
right?
think.
It
what I
has
was
to go out
getting
to
at.
bid,
I
yes.
you know,
Well, for these small things that need to be done for this year.
Yeah.
I think because.
You
it's-
just read it, you need
it's
kind
their
of a bunch of
equipment.
maintenance kind of things to be.
Right, yes, it's maintenance, yes. We really need them to install it for us because,
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to install it
Sure.
yourself.
Yeah.
that would be hazardous.
So in looking at this, Linda, the budget sheet that was handed out,
Mhm.
so there were some small things. you know,
Right.
Some you were describing, that total
8728, it's actually 61 comes to 88, 8728, 61. I just rounded it off.
That's fine.
Yes,
No problem.
Yeah.
And that's the first phase.
right,
And then the second phase, which is another 49,000.
right.
When would that, are you requesting that in? this
No,
year?
no. The 49,484 is for this coming year.
The total,
It's a total
Yeah,
of all.
so
Total
of
of
this whole
all
thing.
the things
right,
to
including the
replace,
87.
to replace
That
the
includes
pads.
87?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
to replace the pads on the basketball court posts.
okay.
It doesn't
Put
add
the
up.
rubber on the Gaga pit. To replace 2 benches that the gym teacher uses when she takes the kids out there. They all sit on the benches and she tells them what they're gonna do for the day. But those benches are in bad shape.
It's-
Purchased 2 soccer nets. I've purchased soccer nets many times for the kids. Just the $200 ones, but they don't last. These are the ones that are made out of PVC. And you can roll them out of the way, and so they're actually there forever. And then replenish the wood chips in the preschool playground because they're about 5 inches now. They need to be 12 inches.
They're outrageously expensive,
Yes,
especially treated wood chips.
yeah. And again, it's for them to come and install them. Because we've, over the years, moved them ourselves. And it's wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow. And it's just, it takes forever to get them where they need to be.
I'm trying to reconcile your
So-
numbers.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
Can
can I-
Added-
Can I make a suggestion? Yeah, this doesn't add up.
Doesn't add up.
Exactly right. But I would propose,
So- Okay,
think-
so the 8,000
The eight-
doesn't, and
does-
added to the rest of that,
Doesn't-
8,000?
It's,
for
It
the-
still doesn't come up to.
Okay,
The four
but
categories to
um,
8,000.
Madam
don't
Chair,
matter.
Doing this in a
Okay, all right.
hurry today.
These
So I
four,
just
these
got
four,
this-
these first four items add up to $6,028.61.
Say that again, Dan.
The first four items, parts delivered, certified installer, wood delivered, fiber delivered, and wood installed. That total adds up to $6,028.61. It does not add up to
Can
87.
can I still
4, 5,
Mary,
6, 7.
finish what I had started, because I have a
Go ahead,
a
Joanne.
proposal that doesn't. This, I think we're all in agreement that this repair stuff needs to be done, and and the prices are changing. What I would propose is the request be for 50,000
Mhm.
for these things that
Right.
have to be
Mhm.
done, and whatever doesn't
Gets returned.
add up
Yeah.
will
Right.
end up going back into the pot, because it doesn't add up exactly, but
Okay, well, like I
rather than
said.
try to figure that out when you
I
know
was
it's gonna
really
change
hurrying
anyway.
Because the way they gave it to me, I had to go through all their numbers and figure it out for myself how to.
Well, I think, and they'll probably change anyway in
Well,
reality.
Mike-
I hope not, because I'm just gonna tell them.
Well, if we
You
pick
gave me
a
this
number,
price, this is what
Yeah,
we
but we
go
pick a high
pick
enough
a number
number
that'll cover it,
that'll cover it.
whatever will.
Mhm.
Then you'll be able to
Right.
get
It's
everything.
not
Right.
spent.
Mhm.
Right.
Can,
Okay.
can we bypass the need for 3 proposals?
No, I think we need to.
I don't think we can.
Well, I could
Requirement.
check and see if they're on the state bid list.
Oh, yeah.
If they are,
Some things that are,
O'Brien and Sons is probably on the state.
And I think
bid,
O'Brien is on a state business.
So I think we could.
So no need to.
Yeah.
propose.
but I think if people are comfortable with 50,000 as what we think is enough for getting some of this stuff done, and there's money left, it'll just.
I think you're right. I think it's a good start. You know, it's a first phase. I mean, there really there's a lot of extensive work that has to be done after this. But that would be up,
Yeah,
We'll
well,
expect
that-
not,
that would be up to you to prioritize
right.
right?
and come back with.
The rest of it really is components, new components to
Yeah.
add to the playground to make it nice.
And the only thing, like I said
know,
before, is the,
It's amazing how many people use this playground. Tourists,
So try that
like,
Gaga box.
everybody uses this playground. Rec is there every day in the summer, and they need
yeah, we run our
things to
summer
do.
camp
You
there.
know, they really need things to do, and,
Run our after-school
After school
program.
program.
yes, right,
No,
yeah,
without a doubt, it's an East Hampton playground, it's
Mhm.
for East Hampton children, it's for everybody
yeah.
that comes. Again, the only thing, that the Recreation Commission felt was the surfacing thing. In the future, when you go for surfacing,
Right,
do board. and
yes.
place.
hmm Well,
There's a couple of places where you're gonna need it.
and that would be the future
Yeah, right.
with me
Yeah,
coming
when you
back,
come back
maybe,
next year,
and
expect for
yes,
phase
Other
two, right?
phase, and you wanna replace a piece of playground equipment,
right.
then make sure you do port in place underneath the playground.
And that might be, as you have time, something that you could do would be to, you kind of have it here, but there aren't any real dates on, sort of phase 1, phase 2.
Yeah, right.
That might be helpful for us to have for our planning purposes and knowing what you might be asking for in future years.
Right.
So. if
Well,
you-
it would be more like what you would feel you would be comfortable with.
No,
basically.
but that's not right, Linda.
Yeah,
It-
yeah, I
it's
agree, I
what-
agree with Ed.
Yeah,
It's
It's
what O'Brien
what's
and
needed.
Sons, it's the report you got, I think that smaller piece of equipment needs to be replaced before the bigger piece needs.
yeah, right,
So,
right.
I mean, so I would think that would become part of the next phase.
hmm
I don't know if your basketball court needs to be resurfaced, at one point it was.
It's about like every 3 to 5 years.
But remember,
So-
you and I talked about, leveling the surface area behind there.
Yeah,
I mean, I know our kids go out, they're running out there all day
Right.
long. And it's really uneven, there's all kinds of potholes.
mhm,
So I mean, it really needs, dirt has to be brought in,
yeah.
has to be leveled,
Yeah.
grass seed has to be planted.
mhm.
I believe it has a sprinkler
Yeah.
system.
I think
And
that's
that,
something else.
and that
needs
is
to be done.
another thing, the field itself.
Yeah.
needs
So,
more.
but I mean, the
Yeah.
field may be phase 3, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's what you people feel
is needed.
Is the priority, the
Right.
top priority.
Right,
And I think that that one piece of equipment that you bought in 2007 is definitely gonna be one of your top priorities. I mean, all the kids, all the young kids use it. I mean, it's right. I mean, you come out of a classroom door and you're right in the playground. So,
Right.
I mean, it's part
And,
of the
and the
school.
way we've sort of looked at it is the equipment is more important than right now than the way the field looks.
Oh, yeah, without a,
The
oh,
kids
I
will play
agree
on the
100% with
field.
you.
They don't
I mean,
care.
if you're gonna develop a plan,
yeah,
develop a long-range plan.
right.
I mean, how many
Yeah.
years did we put money, and we're almost done.
Almost done it,
The
Wylie.
fencing is going up, we're almost done
At
back
this
here.
one here,
It's
yeah,
been what, 5, 6 years?
yeah.
I can't tell you how many phases, I think I
At
forgot. the
least
phase.
5.
So I have a basic question.
Mhm.
You have come to us for $50,000.
Mhm.
You understand that this request will go to the town meeting
Yes.
in May?
Yes.
Assuming we have our
Mhm.
meeting in May,
Mhm.
and you won't be getting any of this money until
Till
after
Ju-
that.
Right,
July
right,
1.
And so the next
Right.
time that you would be coming to us would be next year.
right,
So that's almost 2 years from now.
right.
I am wondering whether you should be increasing this 50,000 to cover what you think needs to be done for this year, this coming year and the next year, in order to have the monies that you need for the issues that we're discussing here.
So is there a chunk on the second page or third page that would be nice to have it secured because it's gonna come next? Is there a way you could? I think that's a
Well-
good idea if it makes sense in your timing.
Well, the, under future equipment, the zip line
Cruise.
would be really nice.
Fine. Do the lawyers know about this? Is that? Sorry. Is it really like a,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, it's basically the same thing that we have on the playground right now in a small stop. This is the handle that they
Okay.
hold on to and,
Okay.
but it's 10 feet long.
Oh,
The older
that's kind of
kids
boring.
would,
You know,
yes, yes. The older kids would like that.
Miriam,
yeah, I kinda,
Yeah,
I
this is-
understand.
Our playground is for 12-year-olds also, not just 2-year-olds and
Right.
5-year-olds.
I understand what Mary's getting
Mhm.
at, but I think 50,000 is a good start.
And-
Come
and-
back with a detailed plan.
Next.
Oh, well, I'd be happy to do that. Come back with a plan for the future, like,
Yeah,
I mean, a real concrete
and I
thing.
think that if anybody was here when I first started here, we could probably work. I don't know if Dan was here at the time. But I remember specifically, before they would let me do anything, they wanted me to hire a consultant and develop a plan.
Plan.
A 5-year plan.
Yeah, and really, that's what it's all about.
Hmm.
And once you get that, I mean, you could jump around within the plan,
Okay.
you know, depending upon your priorities, but you have something to go on.
So let's start.
And maybe in the interim, an emergency comes
Yeah.
up, and one of the pieces of equipment needs to be replaced for another piece of equipment. Well, then, yeah,
Well, we would be happy to just do what we have here for the 50,000.
well, that's what I think I'm saying, you know, and then, and then, have yourself a plan. And figure out what phase or what project you like to do next.
The priorities are
Yeah,
based on what needs to be replaced.
Yeah, like the field.
Yeah.
It should be seeded but I don't know how,
again,
I don't know
that
how
was
you
the kind
do
of part
that
of
when
it
you have
that I
kids
didn't
using
understand
it
about
every day of the year.
responsibilities, these things were.
Yeah.
Well, I think what Ed's saying I'm gonna say it very directly is, does the town have money not the CPC, but the town have
So
money that they contribute
maintenance money.
to things like seeding the field and landscaping and
We get
Other-
capital funds
right.
each year
In
from
their
the
budget.
town.
Okay.
And there
Yes.
is some.
So I'm suggesting.
And we have some money in the budget, in the school budget that we use
Right.
to do these.
So
things, yeah.
I guess what I'm suggesting when I talk about a plan is like a 5-year plan. Sort of lays out what are the things you think you need to do over the next 5 years. Which of that the town would pay for
Mhm.
through its capital budget and other operating budget, which you would be coming to CPC for. Because there's funding from both sources. It's helpful for us to sort of see the plan laid out with the
Yeah, right.
different funding sources identified. And if you brought that back to us next year, then that would really be very helpful.
We just had the fence along Chipman replaced. So we had all the tree, it was all dead.
Oh, that's right, the whole tree line.
It was
Right.
terrible. It was so bad. We had a fence put up. It looks beautiful. And then they put all Leland cypresses up along there. And then this gentleman, Sean Logan, I think his name is, he put up apple trees. There's little now. Apple trees and blueberry bushes. And it looks beautiful.
Mhm.
And that's all along Chipman Way. So like we are developing.
Right.
You know, it's getting better. It was a mess along that line in Chipman Way before Tree Works came and they did a really nice job.
Good.
And how have you paid for all of that? Out of your own budget?
Out of capital.
Yeah.
Well, and some of our budget too. And then we also have sustainable gardens people coming to do it. We had community gardens in the back.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and so the school took it over because the community felt that it was too far to walk back to get to that area. So the school
back.
took it over and so we have, so they're working with us to recreate those gardens in the back. So it's coming along really good. So it's just gonna be a beautiful area.
So I.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we give them $50,000, up to $50,000. To make the suggested improvements that they need right now and develop a plan for the future.
Second,
And I just want to make sure that when you say the 50,000, it's these items on here.
Yeah.
I just want everybody to understand.
Right, it's the first page.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first page.
First
Can,
page.
can we get a
Okay.
backup from your contractor? I'm feel very loose on this.
Sure.
We have one paper that's written down with no authorization. Nobody's authoring this thing.
Oh, well,
Uh,
okay, I put that together.
No, I know that, but I don't feel, I think we have a responsibility to see somebody's letterhead that says this is what it's gonna cost. And what I'm saying is, I want this as part of the record.
I can, I'll give it to you.
Apply it.
Okay,
Because to have your typewritten estimate,
right,
where you're not a contractor.
right. Well, I have it all
Supplier.
here, but I did that.
I know you did
Because
this
to
quickly,
make it
and that's
easier,
fine.
'cause
All
it
I'm,
was all
all
on
I'm saying is, as
different
part of our approval, I think
Yeah.
we need to have the paperwork back up for the. 50.
All right, okay, yep,
And I have no problem with the motion.
actually.
Can I ask a question though? Should we be including some money for a consultant to develop a?
Well, they said that O'Brien and Sons would do it free.
Yes.
I mean, O'Brien and Sons is definitely a reputable organization. If
Very good. You said you're using them for the shade shelter?
Right, Paul's using it for the.
Okay.
I'm building the shade shelter.
I picked, but I
we're not
picked,
gonna be holding umbrellas.
but I picked the colors up.
Okay. So we had a motion.
We have a
and-
motion, we had a discussion. Do we have a second? I'll second it if we have it. Oh, you did
a
already.
second.
Okay.
We have a
Any
motion-
more,
a
any more
motion from
discussion?
Jan, we have a.
No, it
second.
was a
Motion
more
from
motion
Ed.
from
Oh,
Ed.
Second was Joanne.
Second, Joanne.
Discussion,
Ed,
And
Joanne, and
paperwork.
Joanna.
Mhm.
paperwork.
And
ducks in
any
a
other
row.
questions or anything? My email is right there. Just, you can email me and I will be happy to get back to you. But I also will give you all the paperwork that O'Brien and Sons
Right, I
has
think
given.
that if you give us the stuff that O'Brien and Sons gave you,
Yes,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
will give you the
it'd be very helpful.
report from the playground
Yeah,
inspector that was there and. so
I actually have a
it's in
copy
good
of your
shape.
playground inspection.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
you
I
could-
think
yeah,
all of
yeah.
that should be in the package.
Yeah, right.
If you give all of that to Stacy, and
Yes,
Stacy will be sure that that all gets to all of us.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, and that's going to include the annual review,
Yes,
copy
Yep,
of the annual.
right
review.
here, yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
And you're going to put something together for us.
For the
with-
future.
For the future,
Yeah.
apart from,
Mhm.
or I should say, after the 50,000, which we're talking
Right.
about today.
Right. Mhm.
Do I have any other comments, questions? We have a motion on the floor by Ed and Joanna, up to 50,000 for the Eastham Elementary School playground. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Eileen?
We have.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you. That is 9-0.
Okay.
9-0, and that is.
Hey, thank you.
thank you.
I will-
Thanks, Paul.
I know you put a lot of hard work into it, Linda. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you for bringing this financial information at the last minute. I think that was probably
Sorry, it didn't add up.
It's okay.
more helpful than anything. Oops. Okay, we are down to Finch Skate Park. And we have,
This man upstairs.
If Paul can stay back
Yeah,
there,
you
yeah,
can-
she
you
can.
Yeah, Paul.
If Paul doesn't mind. Thanks.
you are Erica O'Reilly,
Yeah.
and we welcome you, and we have what you passed out a while back.
Speaking
so
of
I'll let
catching up
you
with Orleans.
Give your
Oh, this is
presentation.
the-
Yeah, okay. So a little bit of background, the Finch Park was established by a grassroots community effort back in 1995, and it's the oldest skate park on Cape Cod. The park is governed by an intermunicipal agreement between the towns of Brewster, Eastham, and Orleans. It's administered by the rec departments of each town, but since its inception, the management of the park has been subcontracted out to NASA Together We Can, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that I am the treasurer of, and as well as the manager of the skate park. In addition to the skate park, NASA Together We Can runs a drop-in after-school program for middle school students in the Nauset district and various youth activities for Nauset students. NASA Together We Can is all volunteer, and we charge no fee for the management of the park. What we do is invoice each of the 3 towns annually for the park's budget of $8,900. And that's currently split. Brewster contributes $1,825, Eastham contributes $3,125, and Orleans $3,950. And these funds are to cover our insurance, our portable toilet and trash and recycling services, the electricity for the lights, and regular maintenance, as well as a part-time monitor. In the summer, the budget is very, very tight. In the past, I'd say 2 years, we've had to cut back on the monitor's hours because the insurance is going up.
I actually think the part-time monitor is an Eastham resident.
He is, he's great. He actually wrote one of the letters of support in the packet,
Oh, is it Will Smith?
Will Loomis. Yeah.
Willem.
The park is a beloved space. It gets over 8,000 visits a year, and there's a core group of users who rely on the park heavily as a social hub and a place to exercise. And it's a population that is generally not served by other rec programs or other community programs. It tends to be males in their late teens to early 30s, as well as little kids. And it's great because the park has lights, and what we see is as kids use the park generally during the year more after school. And some of these older people, they're a lot of tradespeople. They come in about 4:30, 5 o'clock. There's an hour or so where there's wonderful overlap between the younger kids and the older users. And there's a lot of spontaneous mentorship that goes on because there's no hours for skateboarding. There's no lessons for skateboarding. It's just, it's sort of you learn from the older skaters, and then they, as people age, they pass along their knowledge to the younger ones. So it's really nice that way. I've been involved with the park since 2017 and have overseen 3 phases of renovations, including redoing of ramps, lighting upgrades, as well as the expansion that was completed in the fall of 2020. We added to the footprint of the park and put in a brand new ramp. More recently, I've been involved with a group that's drafting a master plan for the Orleans Elementary School, the middle school property, and the town properties on Eldridge Parkway. That plan hasn't been vetted yet or submitted to the town of Orleans for its approval, but my sense is that that plan will include an upgraded skate park. That said, I think that's several years out at this point, at a minimum. So my goal in the meantime is to work proactively to keep the park safe and operable. And that's what this grant's for. The entire budget of the grant is $31,300. I did apply for private grant funding this fall, but unfortunately wasn't successful. So I've gone and I've actually submitted the entire amount to the Orleans CPC in hopes that money from Eastham and Brewster will help offset that. There's no mechanism in the Nauset district to submit CPC grants together. So in order to guarantee the whole funding, I had to go to Orleans and ask for the whole pot. But if you approve it, that money will be offset, and the same thing with Brewster. As you can see, included in the grant, I did do a summary of what's been spent since 2007 in this park. And Orleans CPC has contributed quite a significant amount of that money. And some of the feedback that I got from Orleans was, this isn't a municipal agreement. Perhaps you should ask the other 2 towns for some contributions. So that's why I'm here.
I think this is a prime example of regionalism at work.
Mhm.
I mean, instead of us having to build a skate park, we share a skate park and we
Mhm.
share the support of the skate park. So I think it's a great example. I mean, another example would be, we have a lighted basketball court. And a number of people who use our lighted basketball court aren't Eastham residents because they don't have access to a lighted basketball court.
Right.
So I think,
Share
yeah,
our.
I think it's
This is great.
it's just a great thing.
Yeah, shared resources.
So I just have a question. How do you know, and I was looking at the folks that are using the skateboard
Mhm.
things. How do you know where they're from?
So we have sign-in sheets.
Oh, you do?
In the summer, when the monitor is there, and I believe these figures are from the summer of 2021. They have the sign-in sheet over that 4-month period. And then we did like a statistical analysis of sampling and extrapolated the numbers from there. So, and then the funding followed that structure, which is why the $8,900 is not broken down evenly between all the 3 towns. So yeah, of our core users, Eastham represents about 24%.
And how did you decide on the 7,005 for us and Brewster versus, I mean, the total was 31, I think it was 31,000 is what you're looking for. How
Right.
did you arrive at the 7,005?
It was just to roughly offset half of the cost for,
Oh, so you're doing half Brewster and Eastham and the other
Right.
half Orleans?
exactly.
Because of the number of users or?
Well, that and because it's physically located in Orleans.
Well, if you look at the users and we're 24% and 3rd project's 31,000, 24% of 31,000 is 7,500.
Yeah, it works. It makes sense.
Who handles the insurance for the use of that park, liability insurance and
It's under the umbrella policy of the school.
the Nauset School system?
And it's all, and we also have, NASA Together We Can has our own liability
Oh.
policy.
Mhm.
And that's a big chunk of the $8,900, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
See. I don't see in the packet any written requests for the monies as far as the actual cost is concerned. You've just written it out. But I don't see any requests for the actual costs.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, for what we would go to a firm to ask.
Oh,
for-
it's under section 8. Section 7 and 8, detailed budget and quotes. So it's, the 31 is $1,500 to raise the shed.
Yeah, I saw that, but I don't see that I don't see anything from the folks that you're going to do the work.
Oh, you want the vendor quotes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I have them. I just
Well, the
didn't-
first ones have the estimates from Brundage, from
Yeah.
Farrell,
Yeah,
the ramp.
the ramp is a combination of labor and materials, and NASA Together We Can buys the materials and then contracts with for the labor. That's how it's been done for the past 3 builds.
Mhm.
So I basically work as the general contractor on it. And I sub out to Brundage and I sub out to Farrell, and then I buy materials and sub out the labor.
Mhm. Are there any other questions on the skate park?
How many over 60 users are there?
They're more than one, more than one. I say like from age 2 to 82,
Yep.
they're there.
I just think that since we have an agreement that was agreed to back in, was it 2001, 2002,
Mhm.
that we are sharing the cost, that we should be paying an amount each year.
You are through your rec department.
We do, our
Yeah.
rec department.
Yeah, and that's for the maintenance of the park, for the trash, the recycling and all that. It's just that it doesn't include any money for infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we go out and we raise private money funds.
So what are we paying through the recreation department?
That you're paying, you want the dollar amount?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was, Eastham is currently paying
Mhm.
$31.25 a year.
31.25.
Mhm.
I thought it was 24, but
Yeah, I think
It's
it
still
had
that's
been,
fine.
yeah.
31.25.
I'm sure you know better than I do.
Okay, so that's that, and we're paying that, and Brewster is paying that, and
Brewster is paying, $18.25.
okay, because we have more using it
Yep.
than Brewster.
Yeah.
Okay. And
And-
does that change every year?
It last changed, I think, 2 years ago. It changed the last time
Based on usage?
I did the usage analytics, yeah.
Okay. I was not aware that the recreation department was paying any monies on an annual basis for the skate park.
Right, and that includes the maintenance, so I want to be very clear, because I know that there's CPC rules about not covering maintenance. This is an infrastructure repair,
yeah.
this is extraordinary, the same way you would resurface a tennis court.
Well, it's the same as our,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the playground at the
Right.
Eastham Elementary.
School.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fixing up, yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions from folks? Do I have a motion to approve the request of $7,500
I move we.
for
we
the
approve
Finch?
The request for 7,500 for the Finch Skate Park.
I will second it.
Dan, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Eileen?
Yes.
9-0. 12-13.
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you
Go
very much.
Find where my skateboard is. No, I would need a new one. They've changed since I owned a skateboard.
They change and then they go back.
Me
They
too.
get fat and skinny and.
Yeah, yeah. Those wheels are different. They are much more.
I do. I got involved with my son. He's a skater in the family. But I skated as a kid and I get on everyone.
12, 13, 9, 10.
More power to
You know what, kind of ruined skating for us was when my neighbor's mother started. We were so embarrassed. We said, that's it. We're not doing that anymore. She was really bad. We were like 8, you know, you're like, Mom, that's not cool. Anyway. So get over there and take a look.
Okay. Thank you very much, Erica. Yeah, thank you for coming. I'm looking at the agenda and we have other business. And I know Tina did send out the updated CPC information, but we can discuss that at our next meeting.
Sure.
The monies from the state, the 258,000 have been received. That's our match for this year. It's quite a bit less than last year, which was about 451, but that's because of the Registry of Deeds issues. Next, for our next meeting on January 3rd, as you're probably aware, we did not do today the Affordable Housing Trust, which is what we had originally anticipated. So we have 5 submissions for our next meeting on January 3rd. Just so everybody knows, and Stacy can put out a new agenda and note that on the agenda. Is there any other business that anybody would like to bring up? I want to thank our cohort Ed here, or maybe I shouldn't thank you. I should
Yeah.
thank your wife.
I think we could discuss the fact that we did receive a letter from the town attorney regarding schoolhouse.
Yeah,
Right.
And
Are you
That's-
surprised?
that was sent out to everybody.
not surprised. It's a contract, it contradicts the previous information we had. And so my question is, how does this board feel about it?
I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look it over.
I read it. Not whether you're for the project or
Well,
not.
no,
What about the letter?
Yeah.
I thought it was very detail oriented. Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Specific.
The only other question I have is, do we share it or do we keep it?
Share the town council's opinion.
Opinion,
I
right.
think we would share it.
Share it with whom?
Well, that's my question. I
Oh.
don't know.
No, I'm at, you.
We've had an opinion that differed.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we bury this letter? Do we share it with people who differ in opinion? What do we do with it? What's the board's pleasure?
I think
we
it
need to
becomes
share it. I
part
think
of
it's gotta be
our open
public
meeting.
record.
Public
Yeah.
knowledge, yeah, it has to be.
I mean, because there are people, I think, that are gonna
May question it.
question it.
Well, I'm just
Yep.
bringing it up as a topic of discussion. I'm not saying I've
Yep.
decided one way or another or anything like that. I just thought we should, as a group, decide what and if we want to do with it.
Well, I
Well-
certainly don't think we should bury it.
Okay.
No.
No.
It was received originally directly, was just Paul and you and I, and we
Right.
had a meeting about it, and that's where I said it needed to be sent out to everybody on the committee so that you could all see it. Since it wasn't originally sent to all of you.
Maybe Paul could help us with this. Paul?
Well, I just wanted to say so everyone on the committee has it. It's been shared with the applicant. And at this point, I don't know that it needs to. If someone asks for it, it's public record, it can be shared.
I'm not sure I understand why you would think we wouldn't share it.
No, I didn't. That's completely opposite of what I'm thinking. Do we
Okay.
have any reason or obligation to share it with anybody else other than the town of Eastham?
I,
If somebody asks for it,
No,
right?
I think it's part of our public discussion, public hearing, and if we're gonna hear the applicant, the applicant is coming to us January 3rd. And it'll be part of the open discussion and public
Right, this is
meeting
being
then.
shown to the.
Right now,
the
it's
town,
being,
you know.
I have no problem with it. I wanted it open,
yep.
basically, but I'm not saying,
Yeah.
how to do it.
Is
I-
there someone else you think we should share it with?
Well,
I feel like there's a question that's not being asked.
there was a different opinion voiced on the eligibility
Right,
from another agency.
right.
Do we feel an obligation to share the opinion back to that other agency?
To the coalition.
I think, yeah, your question is, we originally, I shouldn't say we, Paul originally had a conversation with the CP coalition,
Correct.
and you got a response from them. Yeah, after that, we then ended up going to council and receiving what we're discussing right now. All of you have seen what we received from outside counsel. I don't believe that the information that you got from the coalition, that was in a phone call. Paul,
Well,
I mean, we
wasn't
haven't
there-
seen anything in writing.
So the coalition provided us with their opinion to a question, provided an opinion to a question we never asked.
Mm, mm.
So that's really where this started. We inquired, the inquiry was about the need for what to do with building materials and methods of when they understood the nature of the project. Because we were going on the assumption that it was an allowable project, so once they understood the nature of the project, they offered their opinion that it wasn't an eligible project. So in the interest of just being open with everybody, that's why we presented that information to the group so that you could all decide how you wanted to proceed. So I guess, in my opinion, I don't think this group's obligated to share that with the coalition. But I mean, it's all public records. There's nothing secret about it, but it's because it all stemmed from a question we never asked. So
That's an important point. We never went to them officially, but they opined back to us.
As a result of an
as a
earlier,
Result of a different
earlier
request.
question.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And initially, I just thought, okay, they're not eligible. And reading the response from town council it is a very, very thorough legal and with identifying the parts of the, the chapter things, and it makes sense. So I would be comfortable hearing the applicant in full at the public hearing and having that, again, if maybe that's the question for us tonight, having that town council hears with the opinion kind of, as if there's any question of it being eligible and we're discussing it and going to vote on it, here's why.
Well, I think now that we have the opinion, I don't think there's any question of it being
Yeah, it'll be
eligible.
part of the, right. I mean, it'll be part
I
of the
mean, unless
hearing.
somebody from the public comes
Right.
and questions whether
Right.
it's eligible or not.
but I don't think we need to go back to the.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then could you relay our request to the applicant to expose that letter in his presentation at our hearing? And somebody's got to expose it, so make it part of the record.
Part of the record, right?
And let,
Yeah, I think
and
it is.
my concern is to let the public see it.
Right.
Right, but if we don't talk about it or have it presented as part of the evidence, it won't be known to the public, that's all.
I just think probably at the beginning of that discussion as a point of order, we can just go over
Okay,
the series of events and just explain. We had the opinion letter
It
and
also ought to be voiced to the Historical Society that there is that different opinion. And so they take the risk that in the future,
well, we're
Well,
taking that risk
yeah.
because if we give them the money,
the
we'll never
stewards.
get it back.
Right, right.
In other words, if we grant it based on the town attorney's letter and it blows up in the future, it will come back to bite us if
But-
there was such a thing to happen.
Yeah, I
Well,
think it is I'm sorry,
no.
Mary, I think it is a good discussion because it's the idea of you can recreate something new. It's like, I mean, an extreme example would be, we want to build a copy of the Mayflower by the windmill and put it there. I mean, that's a little bit silly. But
It's not
no,
silly.
it's not. So how is this, I mean, this is different, and that legal opinion that we got from town council, I think is important to read into the record, because
Mhm.
that's what made me more comfortable with, let's discuss this application as eligible.
I think we also have to realize that the Community Preservation Coalition are not, is not, or they are not the final arbiters. That we are the ones that must make the decision to proceed or not proceed. We take it to the town meeting and the voters agree or disagree. They can say, after we said yes, they can say no.
Correct.
Right.
So the coalition isn't the.
advisory.
Yeah, right, they're, it's a yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
Is that our consensus? That's what I guess I'm asking.
Is everybody, you guys?
Yeah, I think Eileen left.
Eileen's got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Janet, are you comfortable with that?
Knee medication.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but I think we all agree. I mean, we've all seen it. We decided that it should be sent to you, so you could all see it. It is, from my perspective, it's a part of the application. And therefore it's a public record.
Mhm.
And and we decide to go or not go, or agree with the request. And then the town people decide to agree or disagree with what we recommend.
Hasn't it been in the past that they go as a block? They don't, we
they
don't.
just started doing that just a
You're
couple
talking
years
about the
ago.
warrant articles?
Yes.
Yes, it's been done a couple of times.
The
Last time- last year
voters
was-
can ask if they're against one and four,
Yeah,
three,
sure.
they
They
can
they
say,
can pull,
pull it out.
Pull it
they
but-
out.
present it as a group,
Yeah,
and if there's any exceptions,
Mhm.
they
Yeah,
will be
pull
pulled
it
out
out,
pull it out.
individually and voted on individually.
But that's kind of funny, because this would probably be one that could really raise a question.
Yeah.
At town meeting.
The warrant articles, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, each one is written separately, but then the moderator.
Moves the-
At the end.
moves
Each
them
is a
all.
separate article.
Each is a separate article, the moderator at the end says.
we're gonna vote on them all.
Yeah.
We'll vote all of them all together.
Together.
In the interest of time, because we're always at the very end.
Yeah.
And,
There's hardly anybody left.
and I don't know, if we want to belabor the discussion for this meeting, but that in some ways makes me uncomfortable. Some of them make sense to put together, but some of them are very different, and I didn't like that they're lumped and people feel like they just want to get, because it's always late in town meeting and people are tired and they want to just vote and get out. And I don't think that's good for CPA, all of it, when
Was that
some of them are so
question
different.
raised
but-
last year about town hall?
Yes,
Eh,
there was some questions.
Yeah.
No, the question, the question on that one was because Joanna voted against
Right,
it.
and.
Oh, who, they want to know who
And
voted
and
against it.
somebody got up and said, who was, somebody, I can
Right.
see on the warrant that somebody voted against it, why, et cetera.
Right.
And I was asked the same question, not with this committee, but on a thing that I voted against on the zoning. And somebody got up in the audience and said, somebody on the
Right.
finance committee voted against it, why?
Right,
and-
I've seen that,
And, yeah,
sure, and it's a
Right.
logical question.
yeah.
When
Right.
you don't have a unanimous,
So-
there's a reason to ask why.
So when maybe what we can, before town meeting, when we've put it on all the articles, maybe we as a committee can make a recommendation to the town moderator if we want
Break it
know,
off from the
them
other.
all lumped, or can we,
I think that's up to the to decide at the time of the town meeting. The moderator is the person who's running the meeting. And I
Hmm.
think they should go as separate warrant articles. And then that's the way they are. And then it's up to them. I'm sorry, I turned my phone off. I think it's up to the town moderator.
Yeah.
They each
How
go
they
as
want to
separate.
vote on it.
They each go as separate warrant articles at the meeting. If he asks if they can all be together, if there's dissension,
Yeah.
then he takes it
Somebody
one
can
by
stand
one.
up and say, I'd like article
One by
number
one.
hold on?
9A to
I
be.
wouldn't try to
separate.
hamstring
Okay,
the way the town moderator runs the meeting.
But I think they usually do exactly what you've just described. They ask.
They ask.
Yeah. Yep.
It's no different than they ask in the budget.
Right,
You know.
Article 2A, they do the same thing. They go through the
Ah,
thing is,
yeah.
what line item do you want to discuss or not discuss?
If there's any.
People do get up and say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
Have a
Okay.
question on this or a question on that? Okay, so unless
We have
there's,
5 next month.
we have 5 next month.
Mary?
Yes.
I'm gonna be sending out an email from Jen. She sent an email with a network mapping assessment for the group to fill out, so I think it'll be like a survey.
Mhm.
Again, so.
Oh,
I'll
right,
send
she
that
talked
out.
about that.
Yeah, because we need to, she was going to send something out to us as a result of our last meeting
Mhm.
for us to be doing a little homework
Yep,
before our next meeting,
yep, and I'll
which
get
is
that out
on January 10th.
tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Joanna? Do I have a second to adjourn?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning?
Why not?
1, 2,
Aye.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're missing Eileen, I think.
Well,
Yeah. 8-0.
don't object.
It is 6, 20, 23?